All right, I know they're getting ready to record, so I'm going to go ahead and start us. Welcome to Engaging Learners. I'm Kathleen Tayler, and I'm really excited that I get to spend this time with you, and I'm hoping, if anything, that you're able to leave here today and I see how this would work in my environment, I see how this would work in my classroom, and I understand why. So that's my goals and my objectives for this session. I'm going to open us in a word of prayer, and then we can get started. Father God, I just thank you that I'm privileged enough to be here and to do that. That you've blessed me to be able to share the things that I've learned. And Father, I thank you for the population, the teachers that are out there, the volunteers, the servants, Lord, that answered the call and said, Father, we're here and we're willing to be used. And so, Father, I ask that you empower me and empower them with your Holy Spirit, that you guide us in our teaching, and that you help us, Lord, to do your calling and to make a difference in the lives of kids. Amen. You're going to have to give me some grace today. I, every once in a while, too often struggle with vertigo and migraines, and today happened to be one of those days. And so for me to stand up straight, I had to take prescriptions, and that sometimes numbs my word recall some, which really drives me nuts. The other thing that I hate about teaching in this format is that I'm modeling for you the exact thing I don't want you to do, is to stand behind a podium, a desk, or stand in front of a class, because your ability to engage students decreases greatly. So I was hoping that I could run around, but because our audio people are in so many different locations, that was difficult for them, because they said, well, then you won't stay in the camera circle, and they're trying to tape this. So understand that as we go about this too, okay? So I just really want to spend some time talking to you. I know I'm not going to be able to just stand here the whole time, so I'm going to move a little bit. I want to spend some time talking to you, just modeling a lesson actually for you and having you do some of that. Because I could stand here and tell you all of this and lecture at you, but then I'm doing the very thing I'm asking you not to do, okay? The other thing I don't like about that is that you will not remember, no matter how brilliant I think I am, or it happens, right? You will not remember in a week, a year, anything that was said if you're not involved in some way. Okay? And so the way that we get learners to remember content, to be engaged in learning, is by actually engaging them. And a lecture or transmission where a teacher just transmits from the front and gives that information is one of the least effective ways, according to research. Now, the reason I tell you that is because you may say, well, gosh, but I'm in a Sunday school classroom, or I'm in a lecture hall, right? Or I'm in school, and in my environment, that's the way we deliver content. The first misconception there is that I'm the only one that can give you content, that I know it all and you're supposed to receive. Now, granted, you may not have the knowledge base, and I may need to lecture or give you some type of content, whether that's a Sunday school teacher trying to take and give the lesson or in other ways. But I have to engage you in some way in the learning process. Otherwise, what happens, and you've seen this happen, and I'm hoping that I end in time for some questions and for some scenarios, and we can go back to what happens with you. But otherwise, what happens is kids become disengaged, okay? And then the minute you get disengaged, not engaged, right? Then I'm not able to remember anything, and I'm not intaking anything. I'm also bored, unfortunately. And when I get bored, couple of things are going to happen. If I'm young, well, even if I'm older, I'm probably going to drive you crazy. I'm going to poke my neighbor, I'm going to take their things, I'm going to be disruptive. Either that or I'm falling asleep, right? One of the things that bothers me the most when I go in classrooms, and I do that not only here at CCA as an instructional coach, but I also do that at the university level. And when I go into classrooms and I see students asleep on tables or sleeping. And my philosophy is, if they're sick, let's get them into the teacher's lounge and let's send them home. If they're not sick, let's get them up, because we've got learning to do, right? And so it's the whole reason that when I'm sitting in this sanctuary, it is rare to never, I would say never, but there's probably one occasion once a year that I run out without my notebook. You will see me taking notes during the sermon. Why? I get disengaged really easy. I do. I'm ADD, I'm not going to pay attention, never been diagnosed, but I know me well enough to know that I'm a type personality A and I move around, okay? I'm going to get disengaged, and I'm going to be thinking about everything else that needs to be getting done, and I'm not going to remember anything from the sermon. And poor Pastor Ray, or your pastor wherever you attend, those poor pastors, because there is absolutely no way that I could be standing up there and speaking and look out and see all the people sleeping that I see around me sleeping. That would drive me bonkers, right? I'm a control freak in the classroom. And I'm a control freak whether that's the university classroom or the elementary classroom or my Sunday school classroom. I'm a control freak because I think that what God has given me to tell them is important enough that I need your attention, right? And you see people sleeping all the time. So how do we prevent that, and what's some things that we can do? So I'm going to just pick a Bible study story. I picked Esau and Jacob. I'm going to kind of read it from several different versions, and we're just going to go through lots of different engagement tricks. And do those tricks will work in a small classroom, or they'll work in a big place where I've got 100 people sitting. And how do I take and get them engaged? So that's what we're going to look at. One thing that's really important that I really want to touch on, because it's kind of the foundational piece, is rapport. And what I tell teachers all the time, and I mean it for here too, I don't care how big the group is, you should be at the door greeting those students when they walk in. First of all, you need to make eye contact with each student individually, because it matters that, hey, I see you, I know you're here, and I'm glad you came. That doesn't matter if it's a Sunday school classroom or a school classroom. I need to see them, and they need to see me. When you're at the desk, at the front of the room, wherever, and you're still trying to get your materials together, and you're not able to do that, it matters. It sets a tone immediately that you're not aware that you're setting, okay? The other thing that is good about that moment of when they enter and making that time to talk to each student and to have that contact with them, the other thing that's so important about that is, to me, that's almost a temperature check as they're coming through the room. Because I can see when Johnny walks in and he kind of shoves past me and I see his head flip, that, oh my gosh, something's going on, right? I need to know that. I can see when a young lady comes running up and you can tell she's been in the bathroom crying. And it's a great time for me to greet everybody, and then as soon as I get them going, to pull that student out in the hall and say, hey, I notice you're having a rough day today. Would you like me to pray with you? Are you okay? It matters. It matters. And you're going to pay for it if you don't. Because then they're upset enough, right? Their disposition is of such, they're not going to learn, and they've already started that whole tone in a bad place, okay? The other thing I want to touch on is it's good in philosophy, and we just discussed this week. So with a teacher and I were having this discussion, is that if a lot's going on in my personal life, we need to leave it at the door, and we need to come in and teach, okay? Or we need to leave it at the door, and they need to come in and learn. How's that working for you folks as adults? How well do you leave it at the door when you go to work? Let's see if you're being honest. Yeah, I don't think you do a very good job. I'm not trying to be rude, but there's no way. You don't leave it at the door. You may be crankier with your students than normal, right? You may be short with them when you're not normally short, right? You may not mention anything about what's going on, but it's written all over your face. Your disposition is different. And let me tell you a couple of things that matter so much with that. If I've got a little kid that's extra sensitive to body language, whether that's a kid or an adult, and you walk past me and I'm just having a bad day, or like I said, now I'm struggling with that migraine and some vertigo, and you walk past me and my disposition is different when you look at me, you think, she's mad at me, she doesn't like me, right? That's what you think. And then that immediately sets a tone too. I'm not accepted in here. And it has nothing to do with them, but they don't know that. So just to know that we can't, it just doesn't make sense to expect kids to come in to a place and wherever they are, be ready to learn. That's not going to make sense. Another thing is, if you don't have a rapport with them, they don't care about you until they know you care. It's just a true statement. That's why it's so rough for substitutes. Whether you're a sub in a Sunday school or whether you're a sub that you're filling in at a school, That's why it's so hard to get control of the classroom, right? Because they don't know you and you don't have that rapport yet. That rapport is so important. And without that rapport, they have no reason to listen to you or to behave. You're just another adult in their life, right? Okay, so let's get into a lesson and let's talk about some ways that I can engage. Typical adult pays attention about 20 minutes. That's if you're pretty good at that. I've already lost a few of you about 4 minutes ago when I could see your eyes glance over and you looking another way. Okay, so being able to read body language is really big. If you got those little ones, your time limit is about, I would say about 7, maybe 10 minutes before you need to change activities, change routines. Otherwise, you've already lost them, okay? It's typical. It's part of the brain function. I stay with you about 20 minutes. Then I do this dip thing. Your eyes actually will start to kind of glaze over. You think about what's happening after this or where you need to be or something quickly. And then you, as an adult, you usually catch that you're daydreaming, bring yourself back in, and you'll start paying attention again. And then all of a sudden, I have your attention again, and then it drops. So engaging learners is a way to stop that and to make them constantly stay with you. Okay? So I'm going to look at this story, and I'm going to say this is what I need to teach my Sunday school class today. And it's the story of Isaac, and it's the story of Jacob and Esau. And so I am going to Genesis 27, if you want to get on that with your phone or somewhere. I'm going to look at it at several different places. And I'm going to start on verse 1 and go to about 13. So I'm going to start in a traditional adult Bible, and then we're going to look at it in a beginner's Bible and a children's Bible. So now it came to pass, when Isaac was old, and his eyes were so dim that he could not see, that he called Esau, his older son, and said to him, "My son." And he answered, "Here I am." And then he said, "Behold, now I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now therefore, please take your weapons, your quiver, and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me. And make me savory food, such that I can love, and bring it to me that I may eat it, that my soul may bless you before I die." Now Rebekah was listening to Isaac as he spoke to Esau his son. And Esau went to the field to hunt game and to bring it. So Rebekah spoke to Jacob her son, saying, "Indeed, I heard your father speak to Esau, your brother, saying, 'Bring me some game and some savory food for me, so that I might eat it and bless you in the presence of the Lord before my death. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, according to what I command you. I want you to go out to the flocks and bring me there 2 choice kinds of kids of goats, and I will make savory food from them that your father such he loves. And you will say to him, Father, take it and eat it, and there he may bless you before his death.' And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, 'Look, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am smooth-skinned. Perhaps my father will feel me and say, and it shall seem that I deceive him, and I shall bring a curse on myself and not a blessing.' But his mother said, 'Let your curse be on me, my son. Obey my voice and go get that for me.'" Okay, so we've got one son that's really hairy. We've got one that's smooth, a father that's going blind. How in the world do you think, and some of you might already know the story, that's fine, I would still do this with kids. How in the world do you think that Jacob can begin to trick his father? Turn to a partner really quick and come up with how this is going to work. Okay, so that is just turn and talk, a short discussion. Usually it's about 10 seconds, maybe 15, and we bring them back in because it makes everybody 100% get on board and get engaged. Okay, so I have a children's book here that is a beginning Bible, and it actually shows pictures, which is a little better, so I would probably switch to that. And it says, she covered Jacob's arms with goat skin so he would feel hairy like Esau. And there we have him getting covered. And Jacob pretended to be Esau, and he took the food to Isaac. And Isaac felt Jacob's hairy arms, and he thought Jacob was Esau. And so he blessed him. Okay. So then we go into the next part where he's talking about, he went ahead and he blessed him, and he said, but if Dad finds out, he's going to curse me. My goodness, what in the world does curse mean? Does anybody have an idea? What would curse be? He's going to curse me. He's going to be mad. He's going to use mad words like cursing being a synonym of cussing. All right, I would take the candy to you, but I can't. And I'm not going to throw it because I would hit you in the head. So I'm going to have you come grab it. Yes, I do teach little ones with treats and stuff in my pockets. It keeps them engaged and it keeps them watching. Okay, so he might be cursing. He might be cussing at him, right? Something like that is going to go down. So as we continue this story, and I'm going to switch to the Children's Bible to continue this story, to the New Living Children's Bible. So I have Jacob, and he goes in, and this has parts, and Jacob says, Father. And Isaac says, yes, who is it, my son? Is it Esau or Jacob? And Jacob says, it's Esau, your oldest son. I've done as you told me. So here's some delicious venison that you wanted. Sit up and eat it, so it will bless your heart. And Isaac says, how in the world were you able to do that so quickly? And Jacob says, because Jehovah your God put it in my path. And Isaac says, well, come over here. I want to fill you. Is this going to work or not? Thumbs up if it's going to work. Thumbs down if no way. Okay, again, 100% involvement, right? Thumbs up, thumbs down, stopping them right away. Wait, I have a couple people that didn't answer. Is it going to work or it's not going to work? And people do a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Are you really Esau? Yes, of course. Okay, do you think Dad is starting to have any doubt if it really is? Yeah, you think so? We'll see. And he says, then bring me the venison and I will eat it and bless it with all over my heart. And Jacob takes it over to him, and Esau eats it. And he says, come here and kiss me, my son. And Jacob goes over and kisses him on the cheek, and Isaac starts sniffing. What is he sniffing? Tell a partner, quick, what is he sniffing? Yeah, have you ever had somebody in your family go hunting? Have they been gone a while? When they come in, do you smell them? From the door. You smell them from the door. Why do we smell them? What kind of things are we smelling? Give me some examples. What do we smell when they come in from hunting? I smell fire, campfire, grab a chocolate. What else am I smelling? Yes, wet, oh, stinky. We call that BO, right? Come grab a chocolate. Yes, absolutely. What else am I smelling? Huh? Dead animal, yeah, especially if they butchered it out in the field. Come grab a chocolate, absolutely, yes. So I have all of this, right? And he's sniffing him, and he says, wow, yeah, I smell, and he says, the smell of my son is the good smell of the earth. I don't know that I would say good. The fields that Jehovah has blessed, may God always give you plenty for rain and for your crops and a good harvest, for your grain and for your wine. May many nations be your slaves. Be the masters of your brothers. May all your relatives bow down before you. Cursed are all those who curse you, and blessed are all those who bless you. And as soon as Isaac had blessed Jacob, and almost before Jacob leaves the room, Esau arrives. He also had prepared his father's favorite dish. Predict with a partner what's going to happen now. All right, let's see if you're right. And he says, here I am, Father, with the venison. Sit up and eat, that I might give it to you for the finest blessings. And he says, who is it? Well, it's me, of course, Esau, your oldest son. And Isaac begins to tremble noticeably. Then, who was it that just got here with the venison? I've already eaten it and blessed him. And Esau begins to sob. Oh, my father, bless me too. Your brother was here and tricked me, and he has carried away your blessing. Then when it goes a little further down in verse 41, it says, Esau hated Jacob because what he had done to him. And he said to himself, my father will soon be gone, and I will kill Jacob. So, will Esau actually kill Jacob? That's in another week. But will he take and kill him? So what's happening here, right, is that we've got a brother who tricked and stole from another brother. So first of all, I want to find out if you have any siblings. Siblings are brothers or sisters, okay? So what you're going to do is we're going to do rock, paper, scissors. You know how to do this, right? Rock, paper, scissors. And when I finish that, you're going to hold up a number of how many siblings you have. That's brothers or sisters. That means not counting you, how many other brothers and sisters you have. Are you ready? Here we go. Rock, paper, scissors. 3, 1. Holy moly, 7. 4. None. 3, I should have said this is a none or a 0. 1, 3, 2. So, talking to the person next to you, have you ever been upset enough or jealous enough to say, I am going to kill my sister or my brother? Talk quickly. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're back with me. Thank you. So when we look at the word kill, we're talking about a multi-meaning word here, right? It's an expression that we often use in English, which is an idiom like, I am just going to kill them for that. Does it actually mean murder? But when we're looking here with Esau and his anger towards Jacob, it actually means murder. I'm going to murder him. So what I want you to do is I want us to think about what is happening here, okay? So what, where, when, and why, and what's going on. So I'm going to put you in a small group, and when I do that, you have a Post-it note, and I want you to answer one of those questions. So I'm going to take this first row right here, you three together, and I want you to answer, who is the story about? I want the next group right there of you 5, I want you to answer the question, what? What is happening up to this point that we're at? I want you 3 in the back to look at when. When did this happen? The middle row, where did this happen? And the front row, why did this happen? Okay? You have about less than 5 minutes. Go. And on the front row, on who, could you tell me who's it about, but also who caused the issue? And if you get done faster than 5 minutes, I know you're ready to move on when you put your thumb up, please. I gotcha. They're not done. So who caused the issue? Rebecca. All right, I think I've got almost every group ready. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Another trick that you can do, there's several things you can do to bring groups back together. Some people do rhythm claps. And then when they hear it, students repeat it and they come back. Our school often just does 5 fingers, and people just start doing put their hands up, and it quiets down. You can do a countdown, you can flick the lights. So there's lots of different things that you can draw them back. What you cannot do is scream all over all those voices and get them to come back in. Absolutely impossible. The more you raise your voice, the more they raise their voice, and you'll never get them back. Okay. So even when I taught a couple of weeks ago, I was doing a second grade class, and they weren't coming back when I needed them to come back. So we practiced that routine about, I don't know, almost a dozen times before we got it. I was like, darn it, we didn't get it, let's do it again. Everybody talk, you're in groups, da-da-da, and I do it, and they didn't do it. Oh, shoot, there was still not one, let's do it again. Because once I take time to establish those routines, then I'm done. And the rest of the year, they go pretty smoothly with very few reviews. And then I'm able to get those transition times down so that I'm able to teach again very quickly. All right, so when you break people into parts to do part of a scripture reading, part of a chapter, part of a component like that, that's called jigsawing. That's the formal name for the research, jigsaw. And so you each took a part then to share. So I'm going to start here with this group here, and I am going to ask you to stand up just so everybody can hear you. And if we'll have a volunteer, their task was to tell us who is the story about, but I even pushed them a little further into critical thinking, who caused the problem. So go ahead and stand up and give us a report, please. All right, thank you for reporting. All right, so we did the who, we're going to do the what. What happened? Somebody give us a summary of what happened.
Well, I think it was what went down, and I think what happened here was a bit of brotherly love, or brotherly conflict, competition that mom did kind of start. I think it started from the beginning of the blessing as opportunity to win, to get her favorite to the top.
Wow, thanks for sharing. Okay, when did this happen, guys?
So, I'm just gonna, my name is Rebecca, by the way.
Thank you, Rebecca.
And I feel like it was God's already plan, but that's just, I think it was from the beginning of time. If we're talking about, time specifically of this, we have highlighted, verse 41, and it says from that time on, Esau hated Jacob, because their father, the reason being, their father had given Jacob a blessing. So I was always wondering, why didn't he get both? Like, I guess it's Old Testament, so he felt he could give them two blessings, but, and then he began to speak, so it was after he received the blessing.
When could also be like before Christ. It could be back in the old days, depending on your grade level and how they answer that. Lots of different questions to that. All right, where? Where did it happen?
Well, our group, our architects that we are, discussed the style of the house they probably had. Probably not a ranch-style house with sliding doors and individual rooms.
Okay.
So it was probably, back about the time of Moses, it's probably a pretty simple tent with a couple of sticks holding up some linens. And so the whole incident probably occurred right there in Isaac's camp.
Okay. There you go. You could also say that it occurred in Canaan. You could say anything like that and accept that as an answer. Thank you. Why? The Y group was still discussing. Boy, they were getting into some deep stuff here. Why did it happen?
Hi everyone, I'm Christine. We said that why this has happened, we thought it was down to generational sin. And it started with favoritism of the parents, Jacob's greed, and Esau's taking his spiritual gifts for granted. And it just kind of added more and more tension and conflict, and then this turns into generational sin later on. But kind of started with Abraham and
Wow. Good. Thank you. All right. So we've gone through Genesis 27 and we stopped at wherever it said I went to kill my brother. 41. So looking at those 1 to 41 in your same groups, I need you to pick no more than 2 verses that you say are these 2 are the key verses to this section. These are the key verses to this section. And if people in your group disagree, you have to argue for your verse. No, I think it is because blah, blah, blah. I recommend that you highlight in Bibles. We recommend our kids highlight in Bibles here. But oftentimes a parent may not want them writing in their Bible, and or they may not have a Bible and you've provided one in class. Thus the reason we also always have Post-it notes. So for a child that cannot write, they can just write the verse and put it in their own words or quote it and put it on the Post-it note if they cannot write in their Bible. But out of this section, 1 to 41, I need you to argue with your group, either 1 or 2, that you say, this summarizes the whole thing. Here's the key thing. Go. And this time you probably will have 10 minutes. When your group is done, thumbs up, please. And you're down to 3 minutes. I think you stole my answer, Amanda. That's what mine was when I heard you talking. Okay, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. All right, and so now we're going to go through and have somebody from your group tell us what verses you chose, and then briefly summarize or synthesize for us why those verses. Like the reasoning, the thinking behind that is important. Okay, and this time I'm going to start at the other side. Shroop. Let's start with this group. Go ahead. And projector, you can come stand up here, and I untangled it so you can use the mic.
Oh, I'll project, it's okay.
Yep, read it and kind of tell us why.
Okay, so we chose 19. Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done just as you told me. Please arise, sit and eat of my game, that your soul may bless me. And 33, which says, Then Isaac trembled exceedingly and said, where is the one who hunted game and brought it to me? I ate all of it before you came, and I have blessed him, and indeed he shall be blessed. And the thought process behind this was that 19 sort of sums up the beginning and rising action of the story, that Jacob has been set up by his mother to deceive Isaac, and what it is that he's seeking in his deception. And then 33 kind of goes with the climax and falling action of the story that Isaac and Esau discover the deception, and what's the outcome of that, which is Jacob is blessed and will be blessed. So, yeah, I think that was...
Thank you. All right, so let's talk about this process just a little bit, and then the rest of you will share. One thing that happens when you go down and you start narrowing it like that, tell me the 5 most important points from this section. Tell me the 2 that you would choose. Tell me that. For one thing, you're having to really summarize and synthesize, and you're starting to critically think about text. Does that make sense? Whether it's a content area or you're navigating through the Bible, but to have to really start thinking about text and not just reading through it and not understanding it. To have to start breaking it down and do that critical thinking. The other thing is that you've noticed that there's probably different opinions in your group. And so not only are you having to do that, but you're having to argue for your point. So you're having to do some persuasive and convincing arguments with that, trying to convince the others of why you chose that. And the important part here is not just, okay, what you chose, oh, we chose verse 2. Okay, move on. No, but why? What's behind your thinking? Why was that chosen? Explain that to us. And when you start getting at the why and having kids to start thinking through, they're starting to understand the lesson so much more, but you're pushing them into those critical thinking zones. Okay, next group. You can project or you can come use the mic, but please tell us the verses you chose and why.
Where the mother was deceptive and where the son was deceptive. So it's the deception that caused the problems, not being honest.
Wow, thank you for sharing. All right, next group, your 2 verses, please.
So we chose 8 and 20.
Wow.
The reason being for 8 is because we do agree that there was deception that took place, and that was correct, right? And then the 20, I think, was to reiterate that when Isaac asked Jacob, how did you find the game so quickly, my son? And rather than giving an excuse, he says, the Lord your God put it in my path, or something to that effect.
Yes.
Translation. And so Jacob continues to ask, and maybe he's not completely convinced by that response. So I think for it just demonstrates each person's own responsibility for their own actions.
Wow.
Making sure that we're all aware that we do fall short.
Wow, thank you for sharing. All right, group back here that had a discussion.
Amanda. We chose actually verse 4 and verse 41. For it make me savory food such as I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die. Because the whole culmination of this was him, the needing the blessing, the son's needing that blessing and wanting that. The mother, Rebecca, understanding that her son was not going to get a blessing unless she got kind of involved, as you would. 41, it would be the culmination of the entire section. So Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand, then I will kill my brother Jacob. And that is the whole culmination of everything that has happened up until that point where he had been tricked out of his birthright, and then also been deceived from the blessing from his father. And that just kind of made it so that became the matter of contention and needing to.
Good, thank you for sharing. Okay, the front group.
We picked 35 and 36 because those are the right answers.
Okay, we will work on that.
Said, verse 35 says, Jacob said, your brother came deceitfully and he's taken away your blessing. And then 36 Esau said, is he not rightly called Jacob, for he has cheated me 2 times? He took away my birthright, now he's taken away my blessing, having not deserved the blessing from me. So we just felt that was the crux of the concept of the chapter.
Now, do you hear what's interesting about this is that, was there any verses the same? Maybe one? I don't think there were any verses the same, and that's with all of you discussing and breaking it down. I think so often in Sunday school classrooms and college classrooms and high school classes, we ask such surface level questions that there's only a yes or no or a right answer, and we don't ever get them critically thinking and applying that. And so if you noticed, was there a right answer? Of course there was. Amanda was right. It's Esau said in his heart. That's what I chose. But, okay, all jesting aside, right? It made you critically think and defend and to take and navigate through that story and investigate in a way that really caused you to be involved. So the next step is a TS. You'll see it on the sheet, a TS. And a TS is always the application part. And we're going to do this in silent reflection. And a TS is text to self. So now that I've read this text, now that I've dissected this text, and I've gone over and I understand the text, okay, at least somewhat I understand the text. I understand that. Now, how does that apply to my life today? I mean, this happened a long time ago before Christ in the land of Canaan. So what in the world does that have to do with me? What does God want me to take away from this? And right now in self-reflection, write something on your Post-it note. And this is self-reflection, so you're all by yourself. Poor thing, now that I got him into groups. And you're self-reflecting. And usually on self-reflection, I wouldn't require that you share. Because how does that apply to you? What is God telling you about this story? So I wouldn't require that. Now, there's a couple things you can do as a classroom teacher, is if you have them working through a piece of text like this, and you had them highlight in their Bible, and they picked 2 main ideas, right, 2 verses, and then you've had them do a self-reflection. What I often hear in schools is, how do I get a grade? Well, you've actually written on these Post-it notes. So I date the paper, I stick the 3 Post-it notes on the page, and I turn that in, or I stick them in my notebook, and there's my grade. So I'm still able to get a graded assignment if I need a graded assignment, okay? So let's kind of talk about some of the things that happened here. Although I do want to do one more activity with you, and I'm going to do something called a cold call. Now, a cold call is when it's not prepared, and you just call on a student. And let me give you a warning here. So often we use cold calls for the kid not paying attention. Araceli, cold call, and I ask you a question. Okay, that's not the intent of a cold call. A cold call instead is where it's almost a popcorn response, where the person doesn't know that it's coming, but you know they know, and they can be successful, okay? And I cold called them without volunteering. And I just got lucky this session because I can't explain this, and Pastor Sean can, so he's going to end up my cold call. So why couldn't Isaac just bless Jacob? What's the deal? He got tricked. Bless Esau. He got tricked. Say, Jacob, you're in trouble. I just took away the keys to the camel, and now you're going to take and be in trouble, and here you go. So, cold call, can you explain to us something about the blessing?
The blessing on why he couldn't take it away.
Why he couldn't go ahead and give it to the rightful person. He just said it, and he was tricked.
Okay, I think for me it would be because God has placed an authority upon the Father, and to speak, if you look back from Genesis, it says that God spoke and it was. And so I think there's this concept that even in the authority structure of the family, the Father can speak truth into a life. And when it's spoken, it's kind of it's been switched out. God has ordained that power. And so for Jacob to renege on that, well then how would you trust the next blessing? Because he could just pull it back again. And then there's the next blessing, well he could just pull it back again. The idea is it's spoken, it's done. And so then he does end up giving Esau a blessing, though he says he had nothing left to give, he did make him a great nation. But I think when he said, I have nothing left to give, I think he's like, I can't make your brother serve me, because I've already made you serve your brother.
Okay, so we're going to do a windshield check on that, okay? And a windshield means that when I look out my windshield and it's clean, very rarely living in Belen down dirt roads, but it's clean, I can see really clearly, okay? So if you can see and understand the blessing now, why he couldn't just change his mind clearly, it's going to be a thumbs up. If you're driving down a dirt road and there's a lot of puddles and there's a slight batches of mud on that windshield, it's a level hand. And if it's just covered in mud and you're more lost than before, it's a thumbs down. Are you ready? You're going to tell me how well you understand the blessing. And when I get to 3, you're going to show me. Thumbs up, I got it. I'm not quite sure. I'm totally lost. And 1, 2, 3, show me. This is a great way to get immediate feedback from your students. If I've got several that are here, I know, gosh, I've got to dig deeper, okay? They're still not getting it. If they're down here, totally don't get it. Okay, let's regroup. But it requires everybody to be engaged and to give me that involvement. The last thing I wanted to talk to you about is just simply a storyboard. It's something that you can do a storyline in. I saw it this last week, and it went really well in an AP history class, actually, where they were doing so many dates and so many complicated things, and he did a storyboard. And you just take your sheet of paper that you have, and you fold it in half, and you fold it in half again. If I have little ones, I would only do that, a 4 square. If I have older ones, I might fold it in half even one more time. And you have the students actually illustrate the storyline from beginning to the end. and they draw pictures. I often have high school students or others say, well, I'm not an artist. Stick figures are fine. The point is that then I'm involving several different areas of learning, right? And I'm having them to sit down and say, okay, what was the beginning? What was the middle? What was the end to this? And quickly to draw out the storyline of a text without having to write a full essay. So it's another way to help them to navigate and to understand that, okay? The last two things on here is more for classroom teachers. It's called the star and the slant. And let me just quickly explain those. I'm going to explain this slant and then you'll get it. Something that drives me personally crazy is when I walk into classrooms, I can tell people are disengaged and they're at a slant. You know what I mean. They're down like this in their chair. Right? Totally disengaged. I just quickly stop that. Sit up, you need to be ready for learning. But you can say quickly, check your slant. And slant means you should be sitting up, you should be listening, you should be asking and answering questions, you should be nodding your head, and you should be tracking the speaker. One of the things, and I should have modeled that when you all were speaking, and it kind of slipped my brain here, but one of the things I hate is when you have somebody stand up in a class, and somebody's answering a question, or they're reporting out on a group, and everybody else's head is somewhere else or not looking. So I'll stop and I'll say, check your slant. Meaning you've got to track the speaker. I'm not moving on until you're looking because what they've got is important to share with you and I don't want you to miss this. And I often tell kids that. I'll be in a classroom and I'll say, I'm not going to go on without you. I love you too much. I care too much about you. So I'm not going to go on until I have your eyes on me. Okay, now you're ready. And then I'll go ahead and go on. I'm not calling them out. I'm not being hateful. I'm saying, hey, I love you and I love you so much I don't want you to miss this point. So I'm waiting on you. And then I give that to them. Okay, so my time, believe it or not, is already up. It's gone so quickly. I so thank you for your time and for coming in here, and I hope that you're able to engage your learners. I do have some candy up here and some stickers left if you didn't get any and you would love to have it, and it's yours because you were awesome participants. And last thing, when I walked around, always walk around and get in your groups and listen. When I walked around, there were a couple of groups that people were sit further away. So right away, I asked them, hey, are you guys including her? Or is she being included? So that you don't have those people that automatically navigate somewhere else and don't answer questions, right? You want everybody involved. And right away they said, oh, yes. And she said, oh, I'm involved. They were just talking and then they turn and tell me. And so just making sure that everybody's together. All right, I'm exactly on time. Thank you so much.